My name is Lena. I am 28 years old. I live in a quiet town called Riverbend. This place has tall trees, small shops, and kind neighbors. People say I have a good life. I have a husband, a nice flat, and a job at a bookstore. But the truth is, I am not happy. Every morning I wake up with a heavy heart. I feel sad inside. 1 year ago, I made a mistake. I married a man named Ryan. He is 32 years old. Ryan is a good man. He is kind, soft-spoken, and always smiling. But I don't love him. I didn't marry him because I loved him. I married him because I was broken. My heart was hurting. My old boyfriend Darren left me. He broke my heart. I was angry and sad. I wanted to forget him. So when Ryan asked me to marry him, I said yes. I thought marriage would heal my pain. I hoped that maybe love would come later, but it never came. I tried to feel something for Ryan, but my heart stayed empty. Ryan tries everything to make me happy. Every Friday, he brings me flowers. He cooks dinner when I feel tired. He writes small notes and puts them in my lunch. He calls me my sunshine. He kisses my forehead gently. Many women would feel lucky, but I don't. I feel guilty because I cannot love him back. One night we sat on the balcony. The stars were bright. The air felt warm. Ryan looked at me and said, "Lena, I know you don't love me yet, but I believe you will. I'll wait. My love is enough for both of us." His words made me want to cry. He had so much hope, but I had no hope left. I smiled when I didn't want to. I said thank you when I felt nothing. I was living a lie. My mother once told me, "Love can grow with time. Marriage is about kindness, respect, and patience." I tried to believe her. I tried to wait. But each day I felt like a stranger in my own life. One Friday evening, Ryan cooked a special dinner. My favorite, chicken pasta with garlic bread. He lit candles. He wore the blue shirt I liked. He said, "Lena, you are my everything." I smiled and said, "Thank you." But inside, I felt nothing. I was not living my own life. I was acting. After dinner, he said, "Let's go for a walk." We went to the park near our flat. He smiled and said, "Remember this tree? I proposed to you here." I looked at the tree, then at him. I wanted to shout, "I don't love you, Ryan." But I stayed silent. I didn't want to hurt him. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling. I thought about my life. I asked myself, will I ever be truly happy? The next day, my best friend Mira called me. She said, "Lena, your voice sounds tired. Are you okay?" I didn't want to lie. I said softly, "I don't love Ryan. I married him to forget someone else. But now I feel stuck." Mira was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Maybe you need space. Maybe time will help." But I shook my head. It's not time. My heart feels nothing for him. Later that day, I sat with Ryan. I wanted to talk. I said, "Ryan, I need to say something." But he stopped me. "I know what you want to say," he said. "Please, don't give up on us. I still believe in us." His eyes were full of hope. I felt worse. I couldn't give him what he needed. I felt like I was carrying a heavy bag every day. One Sunday, Ryan said something that shocked me. "Lena, do you want to have a baby? Maybe it will bring us closer." I froze. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to have a child with someone I didn't love. I looked at my hands and said quietly, "I'm not ready." He nodded. He looked sad but didn't say much. That made me feel even worse. He was always gentle. I was always distant. That night, I wrote in my journal, "I feel like I am drowning. Ryan is a good man, but I can't be the wife he needs. Sometimes I want to leave, but I'm scared. What will people think?" One night, I packed a small bag. I wanted to leave. Ryan was sleeping. He looked peaceful. I stood at the door, but I couldn't go. I put the bag down and cried. The next morning, Ryan made coffee and said, "Good morning, my love. I believe in us." His words hurt me again. I wanted to shout, "Stop hoping." But I stayed quiet. I looked out the window. The sun was shining. Children were laughing and a dog was running. But I felt stuck inside. One Saturday, Ryan came home early. He had 2 movie tickets. "Let's go out tonight," he said. "I want to see you smile again." I said, "Okay," but I didn't. "Want to go? I just didn't want to say no." That evening I wore a nice dress. I smiled, but the smile wasn't real. Ryan held my hand. He laughed. He looked at me often, hoping to see joy, but I felt cold. After the movie, he said, "That was fun, right?" I nodded. Yes, it was nice. But inside I felt empty. That night he made tea. He sat next to me and whispered, "I missed you, Lena." I looked away. I didn't answer. I felt bad. I was hurting him every day, not with words, but with silence. The next day, I met Mira at a cafe near the hills. The sky was gray, the wind was cold. She looked at me and said, "Lena, you look tired." I told her everything. "I feel like I'm in a box with no door. I want to leave, but I'm scared." Mira held my hand. She said, "No one can live your life for you. If you're not happy, you must be honest. Ryan deserves the truth." Her words touched me, but I was still afraid. What if I hurt Ryan too much? That night I sat by the window. The lights in the homes outside were glowing. I wondered if those people were happy, or just pretending like me. Ryan came and sat beside me. "Lena," he said, "you've been quiet. I feel like I'm losing you." I wanted to tell him the truth, but I lied again. I'm just tired from work. Next week, Ryan planned a trip. "Let's go to Lake Wisteria," he said. "Just us. Maybe the fresh air will help." I didn't want to go, but I said yes. We drove for 2 hours. The lake was calm, the sky was blue, but I felt nothing. That evening, Ryan gave me a small box. Inside was a necklace with a tiny heart. He said, "This is for you. My heart is yours." I felt tears, not because I was happy, but because I knew I didn't deserve his love. I said, "Thank you," in a soft voice. Later, when Ryan slept, I sat on the floor. I thought about everything. Ryan was kind to me when Darren left. He made me smile, but I never loved him. I married him because I didn't want to be alone. Now I see, being with someone you don't love feels worse than being alone. When we came back, I started writing letters to myself. I didn't show them to anyone. I wrote what I felt. One letter said, "Lena, you are not a bad person. You made a mistake, but you didn't mean to hurt anyone." Another letter said, "Ryan is kind, but he is not your home." Writing helped me. I felt stronger. A few days later, Mira called. She said, "Lena, you sound different, stronger." "I'm thinking of telling Ryan the truth," I said. That evening, I made tea and asked Ryan to sit with me. My hands were shaking. "Ryan," I said, "you are a good man, but I don't love you. I never did. I was hurting, and I thought love would come later, but it didn't." Ryan was quiet. His face was calm, but his eyes were wet. "I knew," he said softly. "I saw it in your eyes. I just didn't want to believe it." "I'm sorry," I said, crying. He nodded. "I love you, Lena. But I can't be the only one trying." We sat in silence, no shouting, no anger, just quiet sadness. That night, I slept on the couch. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The next few days were quiet. We didn't talk much. I slept in the guest room. In the mornings, Ryan still made coffee. He left a cup for me, but no notes, no smiles, just silence. I went to work at the bookstore, but my heart was not in the job. One day, Mira came. She hugged me. "How are you?" "I feel honest now," I said. "What will you do next?" "I think I need to leave." That evening, I told Ryan. He wasn't surprised. "Do you have a place to go?" he asked. "Yes." "Mira has a room for me." Ryan nodded. "Maybe this is the right thing." "I never wanted to hurt you," I said. "You didn't," he said. "I gave you my heart, even if you couldn't. Keep it." The next morning, I packed a small bag. The flat felt heavy with memories. Ryan helped me carry the bag. "If you ever need anything, call me," he said. "Thank you for everything," I said. "Take care, Lena." I left. Mira waited, outside. I sat beside her and we drove away. I didn't look back. At her home, I cried. Not because I missed Ryan, but because I felt so many things. Guilt, sadness, fear, and a little hope. For the first time, I chose myself. When I got off the bus in the new city, my heart was full of fear. The place was big and loud. I had never been here before. Everything felt strange, but deep inside, I knew I had to be strong. I was not running away. I was trying to find myself. I rented a small room on the third floor of an old building. The room had one bed, a chair, a table, and a small window. It was not much, but it was mine. I sat on the bed and looked outside. People were walking fast on the streets. They didn't know me, and I didn't know them. But that felt good. It meant I could start again. The first night was hard. I cried a lot. I missed Ryan's kindness. I missed his calm voice. I missed his quiet love. But I knew I had done the right thing. Staying in a marriage where there was no love was not fair to him. He deserved someone who could love him fully, and I needed to find out who I really was. The next morning, I walked around the city. I saw a small cafe with flowers in front of the door. It looked warm and friendly. I went inside and asked if they needed help. A woman with short hair smiled and said yes. Her name was Maria. She owned the cafe. Maria gave me a job. I started washing dishes and cleaning tables. It was not easy, but it kept me busy. Slowly, I started to feel better. I had a reason to wake up each day. I had something to do, and the cafe felt like a small family. At night, I wrote in a notebook. I wrote about my pain, my memories, and my hopes. I wrote letters to Ryan that I never sent. I thanked him in those letters. I told him how kind he was and how sorry I felt. I told him I was trying to become someone he could be proud of, even from far away. Weeks passed, then months. I learned to smile again. I made friends at the cafe. I even started painting in my free time. I had always loved to paint, but I stopped when life got hard. Now, I picked up the brush again. My colors were soft at first, light blues, gentle pinks. Then they grew bold, deep reds, strong greens. My heart was healing. One day, Maria looked at my painting and said, "You should show these to people." Laughed. "Who would want to see them?" "I would," she said. "And I think others would too." Her words gave me courage. I joined a small art group. We met every Sunday. We painted, talked, and shared stories. I told them mine, and they listened without judgment. It felt like I was finally free, free to speak, free to feel, free to live. But sometimes late at night I still thought of Ryan. I wondered if he was okay. I hoped he had found peace. I prayed he would find someone who would love him the way he deserved. Someone who would stay. And me? I was learning to be alone without feeling lonely. I was learning that leaving didn't mean I was bad. It meant I was honest. And maybe, just maybe, that honesty was the first step toward love. Not for someone else, but for myself. One evening, while I was cleaning the cafe tables, Maria came to me with a warm smile. "There's an art show next month," she said. "I think you should join." I looked at her surprised. "Me? My paintings?" "Yes," she nodded. "Your paintings have feelings. They speak." For a moment, I felt scared. What if people didn't like my work? What if they laughed? But then I remembered this was my new life. This was my chance to be brave. So I said yes. Every night after work, I painted. I poured all my feelings into the canvas. I painted silence, pain, hope, and small joys. I painted the first time I smiled again. I painted the lonely mornings and peaceful nights. I painted my freedom. The day of the art show came. My hands were cold. My heart was fast. But when I saw my paintings hanging on the wall, I felt proud. This was my journey, painted in colors. People came. Some looked, some smiled. A woman stood in front of one of my paintings for a long time. It was a painting of a quiet room with a window and a soft blue sky. She turned to me and said, "This makes me feel safe." Tears filled my eyes. I smiled. That's how I felt when I painted it. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen. Not as a wife, not as someone who left, but as a person, a woman, a soul with a story. After the show, I walked home slowly. The stars were bright, the wind was soft. I looked up and whispered, "Thank you, Ryan, for loving me kindly, for letting me go." I hoped he was happy. I hoped he had found peace. Maybe he had started a new life too. Maybe he had someone by his side who truly loved him. That thought gave me comfort. Back in my small room, I made a cup of tea and sat by the window. I opened my notebook and wrote, "I am not the same person I was. I left not because I wanted to hurt, but because I wanted to heal. I am learning to love slowly, gently, starting with myself." And then something beautiful happened. For the first time in a long time, I felt light. Not because everything was perfect, but because I was no longer hiding. I was no longer pretending. I was no longer lost. I was home. Inside myself. The days started feeling softer. Each morning I opened my window, took a deep breath, and smiled at the sky. I was still alone, but I no longer felt lonely. I had my art, my quiet room, my new friends at the cafe, and most of all, I had myself. One Sunday, while I was painting by the river, a little girl came running to me. She had bright eyes and curly hair. "Are you an artist?" she asked. I smiled. "Yes, I think I am." She sat beside me and watched me paint. After a few minutes, she said, "I want to paint too." So I gave her a brush and let her try. Her strokes were messy but full of joy. Her mother came and thanked me. "You have a gift," she said, "not just with painting, but with people." Her words stayed in my heart. That night, I had an idea. What if I could help others heal with art just like art helped me? What if broken hearts could find peace with color? The next week, I talked to Maria. "I want to start a small art class," I said. "For women, for people who feel lost." Maria's eyes lit up. "Yes, let's do it." So we cleaned a small room next to the cafe. We brought chairs, brushes, and colors. We named it the Quiet Room. Soon, women started coming. Some were young, some were older. Some had sad eyes. Some didn't speak much. But when they painted, something changed. They laughed. They cried. They opened their hearts. We didn't just paint pictures. We painted pain, hope, and strength. One woman painted her broken marriage. One painted the day her child left. One painted her dream of starting again. And slowly, the quiet room became a safe place for many hearts. A place where no one asked too many questions. A place where healing was quiet, but strong. One evening, as the sun went down, I sat in the room alone. I looked at all the paintings hanging on the wall. So much pain, so much beauty, so much courage. I whispered to myself, This is what I was meant to do." I wasn't just healing myself anymore. I was helping others heal too. And in that moment I knew I hadn't just left a marriage. I had stepped into my purpose. A soft life. A true life. A life built with love, color, and truth. Months passed. Seasons changed. The little cafe became busier. The quiet room was always full. People came not only to drink coffee or eat cake, but to heal, to find themselves again. And I was still there. Stronger, softer, free. One day, while I was hanging a new painting, Maria walked in with a smile. "There's someone I want you to meet," she said. I turned around and saw a man standing at the door. He looked quiet, kind, and calm. He wasn't too tall, not too loud. His eyes were gentle. "This is Eli," Maria said. "He's a writer. He moved here last week." I smiled politely. "Hello, Eli." He smiled back. "I've heard about this place. It's beautiful, peaceful." We didn't talk much that day, just a few words, but there was something in his presence that felt still, like water that didn't try to flow fast, just quietly existed. Eli started visiting the cafe often. Sometimes he read, sometimes he wrote, sometimes we sat in silence together. And it was never awkward. One rainy afternoon, he walked into the quiet room and looked at the paintings. He stood in front of mine, the one with a woman standing alone by the ocean. "This one feels like goodbye," he said softly. "It is," I said, "but also a beginning." He looked at me and nodded. "Yes, I can feel that." And in that small moment, we both knew. Some people don't enter your life to fix you. They come when you've already fixed yourself. They just walk beside you. Eli never rushed me. He never asked too many questions. He didn't need answers. He just shared quiet afternoons, slow walks, and warm smiles. Weeks turned into months. And one evening, as we sat under a tree outside the cafe, he asked, "Do you ever think about love again?" I looked up at the sky, then at him. "Yes," I said. "But this time I want love that doesn't take from me. I want love that sits beside me, with peace." He smiled. "Me too." We didn't need big promises. We just continued living. And slowly our days melted into each other, softly. We didn't fall in love like a storm. We grew in love like sunlight, warm, slow, and kind. Years later, the quiet room became more than just a place. It became a story, a book. I wrote everything: my past, my pain, my healing, my soft beginning. The book was called Where the Quiet Begins. It reached many hearts, not because it was perfect, but because it was real, simple, honest. One day, I stood in front of a small group at a library, reading a part of it. A woman in the back wiped her tears. After the reading, she came to me and said, "Your story helped me leave my pain behind." "Thank you." I held her hand. "It's not just my story, it's ours. Many women live this. Many start again, and many find peace. I never became rich, I never became famous, but I became free, free from guilt, free from fear, free to love, free to live. I built a life that didn't look grand, but it felt true. A soft life, a slow life, a life where silence was not empty but full of meaning. And in the arms of peace, I finally found home. Not in a place, not in a person, but in myself.